So, I would like to kind of talk to you today about how to improve your aim and some of the things that I have done as I've evolved as a Call of Duty player over the number of years. A number of tips that have been handed down to me or I've picked up through various people on YouTube and in the community. And hopefully the idea today is that it will help you to improve your aim and become better at the game. So if I'm assuming that if you're watching this video that's exactly what you want to do. If you're a seasoned Call of Duty player, I'm sure a lot of what I'm about to talk about will be fairly well known to yourself, and you may have already done a number of these steps, but you never know. You can always pick up a lot of nuggets of information, and in Call of Duty land, if you've played for a while, you know that those milliseconds or those slight improvements can make a huge difference to your experience in the game, your ability to stay alive longer, getting that positive KD and all the rest of it, and just basically having fun. So the whole video is going to be revolved around just understanding a little bit more about various things that you can do to improve your aim. So the first place I want to start is in the options, and I'll show you what I have as far as options go and how I am set up as far as my setup. Now this is going to change from player to player because a lot of this stuff really depends on your style, your ability, etc. But I'll share what I'm currently running in Modern Warfare, and we'll talk a little bit about how to try and optimize these settings as we go through. So we'll come back to the controller in a minute, but one of the things that I would encourage you to do straight away is have film grain set to 0, and where's the other one? Motion blur. World motion blur is disabled, weapon motion blur is disabled. Like I said, some of the things that you have to do in this game are so minute it's not funny, so all that will help. The other thing I would encourage you to do is have controller vibration switched off. This will all help make sure that you stay on target and nothing kind of pulls you off target. Okay, so I'll go with technical button layout. I always have. That's the way I play the game. Up to you. There's a number of options there that you can play around with to suit your particular playstyle, and you can see to your right there it will tell you what the various presets do. The most important things here are the horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity. Now in this game, for some reason, certainly when I was playing the beta, I couldn't get my ADS to happen quick enough. Now, I'd skipped Black Ops 4, so I'm basing it on World War II type ADSing. And just when I first played Modern Warfare 2019, the ADS felt for me a little bit slow. And don't forget, I'm a little bit older, so I need to compensate a little bit. So actually we had this horizontal stick sensitivity set on 8 for a while there, and with a little bit of tweaking, and I'll show you how to tweak this and how to get it optimized in a bit, but with a little bit of tweaking and in-game, playing in-game whatnot, I ended up at 7, and vertical stick sensitivity is 6. I generally have the horizontal and vertical at least 1 to 2 difference in the way that I set them up. I just find that works for me. I know a lot of people will use these settings the same. Some will be a lot higher than this, some will be a lot lower than this. A lot of the professional players are sitting on around the 5 to 6 level, but every Call of Duty game seems to be slightly different in how it works, so play around with this. The ADS sensitivity multiplier, I tend I know that a number of people have advised around 70 to 80. I have it at 90 and it works for me with the low zoom. High zoom I've got at 100 or 1.0, and I guess that's 0.90. I'll say 90% and 100%, whatever that number. I would encourage you to leave the high zoom as it is, play around with this ADS sensitivity, low zoom multipliers. You'll find a sweet spot. I've found a sweet spot at 90. It will change for you. Again, the last thing I'd like to encourage you to do is just play around with these ones, the aim response curve type. I've left it at standard, but you might want to just play around with that to try and get it to where you need it, and that's pretty much the main options I'm running. For those of you that wonder what the audio mix I'm using, I use the Boost High, and it works for me. So very important that you get set up and you get your vertical and horizontal stick sensitivity dialed in for you and for the style of play that you use. It will help a lot. It will make you snap on a target a lot easier. If you're finding that you just can't quite get your aim on target, reduce these and just buy one, small increments, and see how it works for you. So if you're like me and for a while, I mean, the new Modern Warfare is a little bit different to previous games. So I was really struggling for a while there to get my aim on target. I somehow a little fraction off, and it was driving me absolutely bonkers. As a number of you know that watch the channel, my controller is just about done, and I was a little bit convinced that it might have been my controller. I think I was in denial, and I'll show you a drill that you can use to help bring your aim up to speed. And before we do that though, we'll get into the weapons just briefly. Obviously you've got to find the weapon that works for you, and in Modern Warfare this year, of course, you have a lot of attachments that you run, and for the first time they have pros and cons, as you can see there. So this is another thing that's going to affect your ability to aim. You know, you've got to have some control over your recoil and stability of your aim and stuff, especially if you're a new player. So I think that's one of the more the difficulties of the game this year. We've never really had attachments that do this in the past, and so, you know, to try and negotiate your way through this whole area, what attachments work on what and what will help your aim and help you get on target a lot easier, and all the rest of it is a little bit more complicated. So what I'm about to show you will help you immensely, let me tell you, because you'll be able to play around with all this kind of stuff and find the gun setup and get your aiming on point. So I must admit that this drill I've been using for a while. We'll hop into a private match, and as we're doing that, this drill I picked up from the exclusive Ace, and I kind of sort of use it a little bit different to what he does, but essentially it is in essence the drill that he has used for a number of years now, and it will work for you. You've got to put the time in though, and you've got to put the time in to practice. Now I'd encourage you maybe just to hop on and do a 20-minute, half an hour practice every day. It's up to you how much time you want to put in with this drill, but I can tell you now, it will help your aim. It fixed my aim within probably 2 or 3 days of doing this every single day. Now before we get into the setup for the drill, I will talk to you about how you can use private match in a whole lot of ways. This can be used as a warm-up drill, but the beauty of this private match function in the Call of Duty games is that you can go in and you can pretty much pick whatever gun you want. There you go. And all the attachments are unlocked, so you can start to play around with all this stuff here and try and get a optimized setup for what you want to do. You can see here is the P90, and that's what I do if I want to learn a new gun. And here is I will be doing a video on this gun fairly shortly, the SA87. But this was a new gun, never used it before, so I hopped into private match and just played around with it a little bit to see what it felt like, whether I wanted to use it in game, etc. So the private match is excellent for doing that, absolutely excellent, and I encourage you to come in here if you're really struggling to find that optimized setting, that gun that works for you. Spend a couple of hours in here playing around with all the different gun variants and whatnot, and see what just kind of speaks to you. So let's get back to the aiming drill that I personally use. So come down to game setup. Obviously you can use whatever map you like, and you can actually use some of the gunfight maps, which could be good for you when you're starting off, because what you want is you want enemies that are spawning constantly, and you don't want to have to move too far to find enemies. So I generally either use Hackney Yard or Shoot House for this drill, so I'm going to use Shoot House. The mode I use is free for all, and then set the game rules. Now what I will do is I'll set the rules to unlimited, so sorry, the time limit to unlimited and the score points to unlimited. This is really about just feeling your rhythm, developing your muscle memory, so that you don't even have to think about it when you're in a public match. Up to you. This is one thing that Ace Exclusive Ace usually does, and this one he says no. I would encourage you when you're first starting off to have the radar to constant, and that's about all I would do here. The bot setup, again, this is all about just getting into the game and playing, not having to worry too much about what the strength of the bots are. So when you're first starting out, I would put it on recruit. I'm actually up to regular now. I'm so confident with the with my aim, and once you progress to regular, it mimics much more what will happen in game, but for now I would put it on recruit. Now the other thing I would like to say about the guns, the weapons, once you're confident with this, I would encourage you to push the boundary a little bit with the weapons. And when I say that is, have a weapon with no attachments, have a weapon with no sight on it, whatever it might be, so that once you get in game, once you've got all your goodies on, if you're good without any attachments or sights or anything on your gun, once you get in game, it's going to make you so much better. So we're going to hop into a game in a minute, and we'll show you how this works. So we're going to go with the P90 just because we can. You can see I haven't got a sight on it. If you really want to challenge yourself, don't use a headset. But essentially all you want to do is just be shooting. So find that little area on the map where they'll constantly spawn like this. Oh, somebody behind me. And just start shooting. Oh, and you can see my aim was completely off there. Yeah, and just have some fun. So with regard to the aiming sensitivity we spoke about before, what I'd encourage you to do is to come in here, set it to a certain level, play around, maybe put the limit to maybe 30 minutes or so, whatever you want, 30 kills or something. See how it works. If it's not working, reduce the sensitivity, try again, see if that works. If it's going the wrong way, obviously you go back to where you started and then increase the sensitivity. It just depends where it was, and sooner or later you're going to find your sweet spot. So this is a great drill for doing that, and I encourage you to try all these things and use this drill. Of course, this drill is also good for testing out things like skill streaks. Oh, dodgy. Oh, gotcha. Now, it took me maybe a minute or so to get warmed up, but I started somewhere at the 45. I ended up not dying till 92 kills after flashing myself. Again, you can try all kinds of stuff, but I end up getting 92 kills after a minute of just getting my aim in on sync. And yeah, it gets you into a rhythm, and the more you do it, the quicker you're going to get into a rhythm. Don't worry if you get killed, it really doesn't matter. It's not going to affect anything. It's this is purely practice, and it's like every kind of if you've played sport or whatever, you've got to practice. If you want to get better, you've got to practice. So give it a go. I'd love to hear in the comments below how you found it, and whether it has helped. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, and it is purely optional, is control freaks. And I know a lot of people in the community will talk about control freaks. A lot of the bigger Call of Duty YouTubers. This is an optional thing that you can look at to try and improve your aim, but I can tell you, having used control freaks for a while now, they do work, but and they will help a lot with your aim. And so let's cut to that video now. Not aware of control freaks. They are just attachments that you can get for either PS4, Xbox One, Xbox 360 controllers, and what they do is they actually change the stick height. So I apologize for how dirty my control and how dirty my control freak is, but it's been well used. You can see the height difference there, and it actually just extends the height difference of your stick. Now, there's a whole various varieties of these to suit. You can see some are domed, some are concave. So I'll pop that white one off in a minute, and you'll see the height difference in some of these different ones. They're not expensive, they're very inexpensive, so you can pick these up at your gaming store pretty easily. So we'll just get down a little bit lower, and you can see there's a difference in height for all three of those. You know, the one on the left is domed, the other two are concave. Basically what this does is it just snaps on the top of your stick like that, and then it just changes the amount of motion that you require to move your stick. So you can see how that works, and then when you pop this on, which is not easy to do with one hand, there's actually less motion that is required. So that these really do help. I've used them for a long time. I'm lucky enough to have an Elite controller for the Xbox, but the same thing, these just snap on, and hopefully this probably won't focus, but you can see the difference in stick height. And I tend to have my right hand side one taller than my left hand side one, and there we go. Again, there's domed, there's concave, and they just pop into my controller. It's all around the same kind of logic, and it works. It will take you a while just to get your head round using these, and when they'll feel a bit funny, but within one gaming session they should work for you. So guys, I hope this has been informative. I hope it helps you improve in Call of Duty. It improves your aim. It certainly did work for me. I've tried to put as many tips into this video as possible. so that you can work on a whole lot of areas and enjoy the game a bit more. There's nothing worse than continually being killed and feel like you're not actually improving at the game. It does take a little bit of effort, but I can tell you what, if you do put in the effort and you do play around with the various things that I've highlighted in the video, you will improve as a player. It worked for me. It worked very well for me. It has taken me quite a number of years to get better, so I'm not going to say that it's an instant solution, but over time you will see the benefits of doing this and making all those various changes and concentrating in that area. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a comment down below. If it does help you, let me know down in the comments. I would really love to think that we're helping the community, and this is why I make videos, and this is why I'm doing YouTube, to try and help you guys with the knowledge that I get from other YouTubers, and develop for myself and spread the love. Like ratings always appreciated, really, and your comments are always appreciated because they really do help the channel, and I just love listening, reading your comments and replying and knowing that we're actually helping gamers improve what they're doing. Thanks for that, guys. We'll catch you next time on Gaming for XP. Take care. See ya.